The Nintendo Switch 2, one of the fastest selling consoles of all time, but also one of the most divisive. After Nintendo's success with the Nintendo Switch, we were all waiting on the next console as it was getting a bit underpowered, and we got the release of it earlier this year. Now that we've had a couple of months to try out the console as well as some of its games, I wanted to sit down and have a little discussion about it. So today I want to give you guys my thoughts on some of the things that it could do better as well as it is doing fantastically. Make sure to follow us on Twitch if you haven't done so already, and let's get right on into it. But before we actually go into our current thoughts right now, I want to quickly discuss the lead up to release. The Switch had been out for about 7 years, and we were all very eager to figure out what Nintendo was cooking up next. Now, if you guys remember this video that I made at the end of last year, we discussed Nintendo's 2024, and to call it an underdeck year was definitely an understatement. We only really had one major direct, and beyond that, some of the games were fun and great releases, like Mario Party Jamboree, which I really enjoyed, but to call it one of Nintendo's top tier franchises is pushing it quite high. Yes, we had gotten ourselves a couple of major releases, such as Zelda Echoes of Wisdom or Mario Party Jamboree, but nothing as major as in like 2023, where we got Mario Wonder, Tears of the Kingdom, and Pikmin 4. The conclusion we drew from this video was also that we were all kind of just waiting on the Switch 2 news, as they did reveal earlier in the year that they were working on the next home console, but didn't want to say yet on what it would be. It felt like it was meant to come out in 2024 originally, but as we all know, that didn't end up happening, and instead it got revealed in January with a random trailer that just popped up. This was more of a teaser trailer where they showed off the console itself, the new detachable Joy-Con 2 controllers, and of course its main flagship title being Mario Kart World. At this point we had no idea what it was called yet, but we did see a new design for Donkey Kong, and we love the monkey. We also got the confirmation that we will be getting a dedicated Nintendo Switch 2 Direct on April 2nd, in which they will be showing off more about the console and its features, and also some of its video games. There would also be events hosted after the Direct in which people could show up and try out some of the new games as well as the brand new console. These events would be known as Nintendo Switch 2 Experiences and would be hosted in quite a few cities in North America, also in Europe, as well as South Korea and Japan. Now the tickets for these events were in low quantity, but I did want to try and play some of these games early. But I didn't want to do this by myself. As we ended up winning the ticket, we would get a special guest to join us at the Nintendo Switch 2 experience. Experiencing a console launch early is something very special. It's not every day a new console gets launched, and especially as a Nintendo fan, seeing a new Switch being dropped after so many years is something really crazy. Luckily enough, we got ourselves tickets to the Nintendo Switch 2 experience, so we got to try out the console and its games early with myself, my friends, and... Wait, what? Come join the adventure with Bradloe
and Alcaraz
as we experience the Nintendo Switch 2 experience.
Holy shit. Holy shit.
We're coming out here with experience, boys.
Holy shit.
Just for our first experience with the console, we'll be joined by fellow streamer Bradloe Jansen, as well as a couple other of my friends, as we made our way towards Amsterdam to try out the game. Technically, it wasn't Amsterdam, but that's between you and me. Once we made our way inside, we got ourselves some wristbands, which would show the employees at what time we went in, as we only had 4 hours to try out the event, and we make our way towards the waiting line to get ready to play the console. Whoa, the Switch 2 experience looking kind of crazy. Can I look at that Switch 2? Oh, that Switch 2 looks sick. That's so cool. Once we were done waiting, we made our way inside the first area, in which they had a ton of setups for Mario Kart World, both handheld and on TV play. While playing the demo, I wanted to try and figure out which track we were on, but I didn't realize that we were actually on intermission, so we weren't really on any specific track. It was a great introduction to the console, as Mario Kart World felt really different from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe with its physics, and having the chance to try it out in handheld mode, it felt really nice. The new Joy-Con felt very nice in your hands, as well as the screen, even though it wasn't OLED, looked very nice and very clean. Once we were done, we were led into the main area, which we would spend our time in for the next 4 hours. Now, there was so much to play here. They had demos for Donkey Kong Bonanza, there was another one for World, you got the chance to try out the GameCube games, which were 20 years old. You could try out Drag X Drive, Metroid Prime 4, which was actually real and was there. Some of the Switch 2 upgrades, including Mario Party Jamboree, as well as Kirby include Forgotten Land and an entire area dedicated to third-party games. We first made our way towards Street Fighter to try it out, as Cola Crash is a very big fan of the game, and it looked very nice and ran very well on Switch 2, which was a great first introduction. And afterwards, we would make our way towards one of my main games that I was very excited for today. Yes, we already got the chance to try out Mario Kart World, which I was extremely excited for, but they also had a demo there for Donkey Kong Bonanza. And to say how the demo was, well, it was really good. It felt like a new 3D Mario game, but the amount of controls were quite overwhelming, as Donkey Kong has quite a big moveset compared to Mario. Luckily, the Nintendo employee next to me told me some of the controls, and we were able to get through the demo quite smoothly. We tried out some of the challenge areas as well as the main open world, which were a ton of fun and quite different from what we've ever experienced before this point. I was having a blast, and some Nintendo employees noticed that as well, as they walked up to me and asked me if they could interview me on Donkey Kong Bonanza. I was flabbergasted, but of course I said yes, because hey, I was very excited for Donkey Kong, and talking about video games, that's pretty much what I'm doing right now. It's kind of funny, as Nintendo interviewed me once before, back in 2019, before the release of Luigi's Mansion 3, of which only this photo still exists, so do with that information with what you will. The questions that were asked were about Donkey Kong Bonanza itself, about how the game felt, but also about how much fun it was seeing Donkey Kong again after all these years. It was a really cool experience and something I wasn't expecting to do during that day.
That was so awesome. Getting interviewed by Nintendo is crazy, dude. Absolutely insane.
Up next, we wanted to try out Mario Kart World some more, so we walked up to the other demo stations, which were about Knockout Tour rather than actual races. I love going to events like these, and after a while, you start recognizing some of the people who work there, and one of the guys at the Mario Kart demo stations actually recognized us, and we had a nice chat with him. Now, the demo itself was really cool, as we got the chance to try out Knockout Tour with 24 setups, so everyone was playing in the exact same lobby at the exact same time. The Nintendo employees would count down, and we would be starting with our Knockout Tour. Trying out the first time, I felt like a breath of fresh air. Something new to Mario Kart, but something we really needed. But don't ask me, ask some of my friends.
Hey guys, Mario Kart World, what do we think? What do we think? Peak, right? Absolute peak.
In our remaining time, we goofed off a little bit.
Grass? Touching grass? We're gonna touch grass? That's not grass!
This is grass.
Okay, buddy.
This is just artificial grass, but it's flattened out.
My boy, I've got to say, you're tripping.
Tried out the Switch 2 edition of Super Mario Party Jamboree plus Jamboree TV. Played the game that was supposed to never come out, Metroid Prime 4, which looked stunning and with the new mouse controls felt really nice to play. Tried out Kirby in the Forgotten Land plus Star-Crossed Worlds. And tried out 20-year-old GameCube games, as we had our priorities on lock. This event was absolutely peak, and I want to thank everyone who came along to the event, as well as the amazing Nintendo employees, which made it a fantastic day. Thank you all so much. After going over the lead up, now I want to go into my current thoughts. At the time of recording this, the Switch 2 has been out for 4 months, and personally speaking, I've been in love with it for these past few months. It definitely feels a lot more premium than other Nintendo consoles, which also makes sense with the pricing, but what you pay for, you also get back in terms of a lot of power. Or as Nintendo would call it back in the 90s, you're playing with superpower. The console runs at a nice 4K docked as well as 1080p undocked. Sometimes I feel like I'm playing on my original Switch with the fact that the menus still look the same, but in all honesty, once I get into any video game, I definitely know that I'm on the Switch 2 rather than the Switch 1. I'm a huge fan of the new icons they add as well. They don't add too much, but having more is always a ton of fun. They're a nice way to customize your profile, as I hope Nintendo does more of customization in the future, including with themes. I've been begging for years back on the Switch 1 to get more themes beyond the basic white and basic black, as I love customizing my console, making it truly unique to your own, which is something you can't really do at the moment. I love back on the 3DS how you could get different stickers as well as different backgrounds that were based off of different video games. I would love to see Nintendo add that in the future. Options to personalize your own console is one of the things I love the most, as it makes your system stand out from others. But outside of that, the main console and the main menu just feel fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with them. But the best thing about them is that the Nintendo eShop finally doesn't lag anymore. I don't play too much handheld anymore, but I did hear that the battery life is something that they could improve on, as it only runs between 2.5 to 5 hours from what I heard, but it is quite a beefy console, so it makes sense, but it would very much be appreciated. With the main menu and the console taken care of, it's time to start jumping to some of the games, and let's start doing so by discussing Mario Kart World. Now, to say that I wanted a new Mario Kart is definitely an understatement, as we've been playing the same Mario Kart game for the past 11 years. Yes, it got quite a few updates, but I was really done with 8 Deluxe. Mario Kart World came out on the same day as the Nintendo Switch 2 and felt like a breath of fresh air in the Mario Kart series. It felt like your classic Mario Kart, but with a twist, a world, if you may, that you could explore, which is also why it was called that to begin with. The big selling point is this world, which you could explore even outside the races in free roam, in which you can collect Peach medallions, stamps, as well as do missions, as mission mode returns for the first time since Mario Kart DS. Now, I know not everybody is the biggest fan of the open world, as it also got us the introduction of intermission tracks, but I'm personally a really big fan of it, as being able to just drive around and have a good time feels really nice, and just chilling and having a great time is really nice in this open world. Mission mode was definitely something I had been asking for a while, as I'm a really big Mario Kart DS fan, so seeing those return, and definitely with the quantity and quality of them, was an absolute treat. But getting to those intermission tracks, those are the biggest cause of controversy when it comes to this game. When the game first came out and you played online, you could choose random and get yourselves the classic free lap tracks, but after a while Nintendo patched this out and is now slowly but surely patching them back in. Now, what are these intermission tracks? These are tracks in which you drive on the open world towards the next track, which means that you get to play 2 laps on the highway and 1 lap on the track itself. Most of these intermissions are definitely flawed, as they are usually straight lines. Some of them have some uniqueness to them, but I'm personally also not the biggest fan of them. I wish 1 lap was spent on the highway rather than 2, because then at least you get to play the track twice. But outside of that, I also do like it that it shows you a lot of the open world and makes every single track feel really unique. Not really the track itself, but mostly the variations you get with the intermissions, as because of it we have a staggering 200 different tracks in this game. Granted, there are only 30 main tracks, but 200 variations with intermissions definitely gives a lot of replay value. And speaking of those 30 tracks, they all have fantastic theming or just have great layouts. I haven't even touched on the main new mechanics, which are the charge jump, the wall rise, the rail grinding, and these new tracks make a lot of use of these. For example, in this game we see the return of Sky Sunday, my most hated track in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but now with all these new mechanics, it feels fantastic. Both the retro tracks and the nitro tracks are all absolutely fantastic, and there isn't really one I hate genuinely compared to in 8 Deluxe, where there were definitely a few tracks that I never wanted to play on. A few of my favorites include Whistletop Summit, which shows off the rail grinding very nicely, the amazing themings of Cheep Cheep Falls and Boo Cinema, the grandiose return of some of my favorite classics including DS Airship Fortress and Toad's Factory, the vibes of Crown City, and the fantastic new iteration of Rainbow Road. This track was hidden from us all the way up till release, and it made it really fun seeing it for the first time, and it looked absolutely stunning. It is a very long track, but it looks absolutely gorgeous. And before I forget, the Knockout Tour is such a great addition, which makes it so that certain players fall off at a certain point in time, as it's truly Mario Kart's own version of a battle royale. Now, the game also comes with its flaws, including the intermissions that I mentioned earlier. People are not a big fan of them, as well as the sheer chaos and randomness of the game. Now that there are 24 players on the screen, you can get Mario Karted so easily. Going from 1st to 24th is really easy if you're not paying attention, and that makes it not really appealing to competitive players whatsoever. The competitive side of things is a whole can of other worms though, because I feel like that could pretty much be resolved by having 2 different online lobbies, one for intermissions and one for regular free lap tracks, rather than having one big lobby, as most competitive fans are not really a big fan of the intermission tracks. I know Nintendo's a really big fan of new intermission tracks, but by making them pretty much be the only thing available online, they are not going to make the game more appealing. Rather, it's going to have a negative effect by making people want to play the game less. Yes, I have been updating this more and more, but to make the game more appealing for competitive players, which is the way they've always played it, is by getting the free lap tracks be more readily available, which they have luckily been doing. As of recording this video, they have updated the game, making them more available. But I think this would only really be resolved by having 2 different lobbies, one for intermissions and one for main lap free tracks. Personally speaking, I think this is Mario Kart at its purest, as with the sheer randomness and the chaos, that is what the series is all about. For me, it's my favorite Mario Kart that I've ever played, as it gives you so much content, so much variety, so many characters, which I didn't even touch yet. Mario Kart 8 also looked fantastic, but if you compare the character models and how they look while driving, these new character models all have so much more personality to them. I also love the sheer randomness of some of the characters that they added, just Quack, Pianta, and of course I have to mention the cow. Unlocking some of these characters at launch was such a pain, however, but Nintendo patched the game recently, making it a lot easier. That's the same with the online lobbies, as it's now a lot easier to get yourselves free lap tracks in the online lobbies compared to before. Mario Kart World is personally my favorite Mario Kart that I've ever played. Speaking of games I love, let's get into Donkey Kong Bonanza. This game came out a month after the Switch 2 released, so it definitely kept the hype on rolling. This game looks absolutely gorgeous and is so much fun to play through. It feels like a brand new Mario Odyssey, but then you're actually playing as a gorilla. The music is fantastic, Donkey Kong feels so nice to control, and Pauline being there makes it even more fun. She wasn't in the demo that I mentioned before at the Switch 2 experience, but with Pauline's extra singing powers, you can make Donkey Kong transform and do a lot of different things. Seeing a powered up Donkey Kong or a zebra Donkey Kong or just a bird Donkey Kong is something completely different, and it gives the game a lot more gameplay variety. I love how this game rewards your exploration as well. You can literally destroy anything, which is so satisfying, and you usually get rewarded for it as well with a banana or a fossil. Sitting down, mashing your buttons, just destroying everything all around is such a fun time. I also tried out the 2-player mode, which is pretty fun to play with a friend, as they can destroy quite a lot around you as well and can definitely help you out. But I would definitely prefer playing a Mario Kart or Mario Party if a friend comes on over. I know that everybody's been comparing this game to Super Mario Odyssey, but I do feel like these games are really different with how you control Mario and Donkey Kong. Yes, it has the same premise with collecting different moons or bananas, but I think both these games are a lot more different than people are led to believe. I don't prefer one over the other, but they are both fantastic games outright on their own. At this current point in time, I still need to finish Bonanza, so I haven't seen everything yet, but honestly, it has been my game of the year. You don't get 3D platformers often, but when we do, like this one, it's definitely a banger. This has been my favorite game in 2025 and my favorite game on Switch 2 so far, for sure. Going from top to bottom, now we're gonna get into the Switch 2 editions, which are definitely more of a disappointment. You can play all your Switch games on Switch 2 as well, and some of them have free upgrades, including Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, which make it actually a playable game. But some of these upgrades are paid, unfortunately, and I feel like these are kind of a disappointment. Not as in the content itself, but mostly the pricing for them. The main upgrade I bought so far was Super Mario Party Jamborees plus Jamboree TV, which was kind of mixed for me, as I personally really like the new minigames as well as the new modes for the main Mario Party mode, in which you can play with teams or do a quick 5-turn game. But the side modes they added with Bowser are really not worth it, and I'm not the biggest fan of them either. The other additions they added to the main Mario Party mode also just should have been in the base game to begin with. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I did also try out Kirby and the Forgotten Land plus Star-Crossed Worlds, but I didn't end up buying it, as just like with Mario Party, it feels like it's a nice upgrade, but just not worth the money, as it's just like a few extra things and makes the game run better, but making the run better isn't always too obvious. I think that's also on a case-to-case basis, as Super Mario Party Jamboree already looked absolutely fantastic, and with Kirby, yes, it could definitely run a bit better in terms of the frame rate, but still, it's quite pricey for what you're getting with the extra content. I did end up buying Star-Crossed Worlds, but the levels themselves looked very cool, but also nothing that would last you more than a couple of hours. Especially if you compare that with a $20 or €20 upgrade compared to what some of the DLCs used to cost back on Switch 1, which would give you so much more content, is definitely outrageous in my opinion. Now, I don't want to get too big into the pricing controversy, as there are so many other people that have already been talking about it, but that's definitely been one of the issues with the Switch 2 itself. Nintendo started this console generation with upped prices for their games, as well as definitely an increase in the price for the console, which gave them a lot of pushback online. But personally speaking, for the content that you get with the game, I do think it's worth it. However, with the new Switch 2 upgrades, as well as the Donkey Kong Bonanza DLC that came out recently, I don't think it's always priced fairly. A lot of people have been negative about this, but there's a lot of positive things that can be taken away from it as well, as we've got a couple more months left of this year, which definitely are filled up with a lot of bangers. This includes Pokemon Legends ZA, Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, Kirby Air Riders made by Masahiro Sakurai, as well as Metroid Prime 4. Yes, that Metroid Prime 4. Personally, I'll be picking up Pokemon Legends ZA as well as Kirby Air Riders, as I'm really excited for both games, and I will be streaming them on my Twitch. So make sure you go follow us over there and check it out. The Switch 2 is a flawed console, just like any other, but personally, I've been having a blast with it. With the high quality games as well as the premium feeling console, it was definitely worth the upgrade. Should you buy it? Well, that's something completely up to you. If you really want to play the new Mario Kart, the new Donkey Kong, Pokemon, Kirby, then yeah, I would definitely say it's worth it. Otherwise, yeah, maybe wait a little bit until you get the game that you really want to play. But if you really want to play these games, I would highly recommend you buy this console. I've been loving my Switch 2 personally, and I'm really excited for some of these new games to come out. What are your thoughts on the Switch 2 so far? Are you having as much fun with the console, or are you not as big of a fan? Let me know down below, and I hope you all enjoyed it, and I can't wait to catch you guys next time. Goodbye.